Yes. Dr. Mindy in the house. All right.
I appreciate that.
The carnivore diet.
Because of what we eat.
Honestly, you've really touched my heart.
It's probably the most powerful lesson I've learned in the last decade. And it's something that anyone can leave with immediately, and they can teach it to their kids or whatever. But I'm an ultra runner. I do endurance runs, and I was training for a 100-mile race. And every time I got to 38 miles in training, I did 10 training runs of 38 miles. My body shut down. And I had convinced myself, I would tell my friends, like, 38 miles, like I can't go a step further than that. And every day when I got to 38 miles, my body was so wired for that, it just stopped. And I heard about a guy who I became friends with named Chad Wright, who you know, Mindy, he was a Navy SEAL. I heard him in a podcast who said that he took a guy from never running more than 5 miles to 100 miles. He met him at a starting line of a race by just saying, I will not quit. And I said, that's impossible. Nobody can show up to a 100-mile run with 5 miles as their longest run and do 100 miles just by talking to themselves. But I'm like, but if it did happen, and this guy's talking about it on a podcast, if I could 20x my business or my life or whatever, just by my words, I want to learn more about that. So I cold called this guy, and Chad Wright, Navy SEAL, told him about what's going on. It's like, man, I could fix you in 2 days. So a week later, he comes to my house in Connecticut, and he goes, we're going to go, and I'm going to teach you how to shatter your 38 miles. So the first day he's there, he doesn't say a word to me. He's just like stroking his beard and laughing. And I'm like, what a waste of time. I hired this guy, I didn't hire him, but he came here, flew here for my time and his time. And he hasn't even said a word. My friends are like, have you changed your cadence? Are you eating differently? I'm like, nothing. So at dinner, he says, tomorrow, first words he says to me, we're going to start at 0700, 0500, 5 a.m. But at 4:45, we're going to meet in the kitchen and map out our plan. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Okay. I have a 15-minute training thing to break through this barrier. And he says at 4:45 in the morning when he met, he goes, Jesse, we're going to do these 3 things. And if you do them, you're going to shatter your 38-mile record. He said, the first thing we're going to do is we're never going to give our pain a voice. I said, well, what does that mean? He says, I know it's going to be tough. It's tough for everybody. Everything we're going to go through in this journey, it's going to be tough. But we're never going to speak those words, because once we speak them and say, this is hard, this sucks, I can't do it, we're giving that power. He said, if I ask you how you feel today, you're going to say, I feel outstanding. He said, the second thing we're going to do is we're not going to die in the chair. I said, what does that mean? He goes, we were running 4.2-mile loops and we took a 10-minute break. He goes, we're never going to stop in the 10-minute break and not get up. He goes, we're going to exhaust every possible resource. And there's only 2 outcomes. Either we succeed today or we tried as hard as we possibly can. We exhausted all the options and we just didn't make it. Either one is acceptable. But just quitting, that's off the table.